All right, I'm excited to be here today with my new friend, Jesse Lacy. So Jesse is the founder of a company called On the Savvy, which helps to develop tailored marketing strategies to help artists grow their fans and the engagement and connecting with their audience. They focus specifically on targeted advertising and content planning. And nowadays, yeah, I feel like this is one of the most important like leverage points for you as an artist to grow your music career online is actually figuring out how to build authentic relationships with your fans and how to get smart and might I say savvy about building digital marketing funnels and campaigns to be able to grow. So I'm really excited to have him on the podcast today to talk a little bit about current strategies, what's really working for indie musicians and helping them build a successful music career. So Jesse, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, kick things off. I'd love to hear just a little bit more about your story and kind of founding the Savvy Academy that you have. How did you kind of find your way to helping artists to connect with their fans?
I was a touring musician for many years, and I worked at PR for a while. Around that time period, I worked in like, it was basically world music. But I also worked with CD Baby. I worked on actually the first conference, which was actually kind of fun. But so yeah, I started out as a touring musician, going from city to city. I played over 600 shows across the country. So I know what it's like to play an empty venue just as much as a full packed house. I toured for many years, moved to South Korea, and while I was in South Korea, I was kind of establishing the groundwork for On the Savvy, and then I moved to LA and started helping out artists kind of here and there, and then actually started On the Savvy about 2 years ago. And yeah, so the whole goal is helping artists to understand the tools that they need in order to succeed in the modern industry. It's not just a song. Nowadays, it's an entire brand that needs to be promoted. So helping artists not only just understand how that works, but then also the process to make that happen.
Awesome. Yeah, I think about that a lot. The idea of like having the tools and knowing how to use the tools, just because the tools are really important. If you are trying to cut down a tree and you only have your hands versus if you have a chainsaw, like you're a lot more able and to actually cut down the tree if you have the chainsaw. But you also need to know how to use the chainsaw, or else it could be really dangerous. So it's great to have instruction manuals and have help, and guidance like what you're talking about to be able to help, to use it effectively. So I'm curious, having now been an artist yourself and played a lot of short shows, and kind of you have the experience of being an artist, and you've also been able to work with a lot of artists and help them grow their music. What are some of the common challenges or patterns that you kind of see artists struggling with in today's music industry?
I would say the three main ones that I see often are scams. I think artists are dealing with a lot of scams. If you're an artist, you are probably receiving messages in your DM about how somebody enjoys your music and they want to put you on this playlist for such and such amount of money, and it's constant. I get them as well because I'm also an artist. So I think that's one major one. I think the second one is this is going to be on the artist, but I think a lot of artists have unreasonable expectations, especially starting out. We're in an industry where more songs are released per day than per year in the 90s. So there's just tons of songs. And I think we live in an industry now where the song is not really it doesn't have as much bang for buck as it used to. You need an entire brand. You need a personality that people can actually identify with. And that takes time. It takes time to build relationships with fans. And so, having the expectation that it's going to take time, and essentially you can avoid scams that way too, because anything that's offering you something quick likes, quick streams, it's going to be multiple red flags just right off the bat. And then the last one is standing out in this industry. And I think the way that you stand out is by how you uniquely connect with your audience. What makes you unique as an artist? What makes what you do interesting to those people? And then how you actually do the performance. Like, so the bread and butter for an artist is going to be live shows. It's where most of the money is, and it's also where the most impact can be done, bang for buck, if you will, at once. And it's not just like going on stage and performing a song, and even if you're doing it well, there's tons of talent out there playing their songs really, really well. Really, what it is creating an experience for people, because quite honestly, the difference between music as a hobby and music as a career is that as a hobby, you're doing it to entertain yourself, and as a career, you're doing it as a mixture. You're entertaining yourself, but you're also, your job is to entertain the people that are there to see you perform. And so offering a unique experience when you perform is going to more likely bring people in. And it's also going to bring them back. It's going to help them have a reason to invite other people. And that's typically the connection that ends up happening. People buy merch, people go to shows to have a memory. And when they buy merch, they're taking that memory back home.
Good stuff. Awesome. So it sounds like three of the biggest challenges or misconceptions around, one is just around the landscape itself and the amount of scams and things that you have to be careful about if you're an artist. Someone's reaching out to you and the playlist marketing and DMs. So that's a difficulty to face. Then having expectations set correctly so that you're in it for the long term and you're not expecting sort of overnight success, which again would sort of be an indicator of some sort of scam. And then three is like learning how to actually like cut through the noise and stand out and make music in a way that connects with other people, that you're entertaining them and you're not just entertaining yourself. And I gotta say it, like, I mean, I was like debating, I'm like, do I even like bring this up? Because, for obvious reasons, but this reminds me of something that one of my friends, Rick Barker, said that really stuck with me. It was like, music done for your own sake or for entertainment done for your own sake is like music masturbation. And, like, hey, like there's nothing wrong with, with like entertaining yourself, but also it just takes on a greater meaning and purpose, when it's not just about you. And so, and out of those three, the one that I would love to hear a little bit more about is that last one as it relates to, I mean, I hadn't really heard it put that way before, like more songs released in one day than it used to be in a full year in the 90s. And just like in that market where there's so much music and it's harder to cut through, I'm curious what you found really moving the needle and what really helps people to be able to go from scratch to like gaining a real engaged fan base and start building a real career that they can depend on.
Yeah, I think it's focus. The average artist needs to have focused on goals that make the career work. And there are essentially four ways to make money in the music business as an indie artist. It's going to be live shows, so ticket sales. It's going to be merch, and let's face it, most merch for indie artists is sold at the show. I mean, you might be able to sell some stuff online on occasion, but for the most part, merch is sold at shows. So live shows, tickets, merch sold at shows, crowdfunding, which can be a way to actually sell merch if you're more clever about it, and then getting your music placed, so sync licensing. And the way that so since it is about focus, if whatever strategy, long-term strategy that an artist has or a manager has put together, it doesn't somehow get us to one of those four revenue streams, the artist isn't going to make money. I mean, as far as like people trying to make money on streaming platforms, I mean, I know there are some people that make money on streaming platforms, but for the vast majority, it's not a reliable stream of income for an artist. So figuring out the live show, figuring out how to present themselves, figuring out how to entertain their audience, who is their audience, these are really important questions for a management team or an artist to actually put together. The other thing that I hear often is that they're marketing their music, or that they're trying to figure out how to market their music. And what they really mean is, how do I promote my music? And I think it's really important that artists understand the distinction between marketing and promotion. Promotion is a short-term form of pushing something out there, getting the word out there. We have a new song, we have a tour date, it's once you post to get the awareness. Marketing is a much larger umbrella that promo is a piece of. So marketing is everything that goes before that. It's artist development. It's defining who the audience is. It's getting your brand together. It's getting a cohesive image, and your copywriting, and what kind of promotion you're going to do, because there's multiple types of promotion. Playlisting is a form of promotion, not my favorite one, just because it's so easy to scam. ads, which is a service that we offer. Doing any sort of thing where you're, out performing a live show is in and of itself a form of promotion. So the distinction is really important. I find that most artists think they're marketing, but really they're just promoting. And those short term efforts end up actually running out of steam since they don't have a long term marketing strategy.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So the difference between marketing and promotion is that promotion is a little bit more of like a short-term like tactic, which is powerful, but it's sort of like a subset of marketing, which, as you define it, is more that wider approach to like how do you actually bring your product to market. And part of doing that is also like the product development itself, kind of figuring out who are you, what's your brand, your identity, what are your products you're offering, and then applying that as well to the actual promotion strategy of like putting that in front of people. Okay. So in terms of marketing and promotion, I'm curious, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see artists when they're like, yeah, maybe they're just getting started and they're wanting to promote or market themselves and grow their audience, but they're just getting started. What do you see them doing as like a pattern?
The biggest mistake that I see on a regular basis is they go to YouTube and they find a guru and they try to copy it. And they copy templates, they try to do it themselves. And we're in this whole industry where everything is DIY. That in doing that, it's like you don't go to YouTube to figure out what kind of illness that you have. You're not using it to be to diagnose people, or it's an unuseful. They are going to YouTube essentially to find out a way to do it to cut costs. And I would say that if you're not in a position to hire a professional to help you actually develop your marketing strategy, that you're really putting yourself at a disadvantage, and possibly just a way that you're going to just drop money on ads or boosting, or not putting together the entire marketing strategy. And you're going to end up wasting money and probably not even really getting much out of it. You might get some streams out of it, but a career, I don't really believe that. There's a lot more that goes into marketing than, like I said, promo. So a lot of artists, when they start doing their own ads, they think of it as promo. So they use it to market a song. They're not trying to build an audience on the platform for retargeting, for example. They're not utilizing tracking tools so that they can actually get the data about who's actually interested, so that they can essentially prompt and educate the AI that the ads manager is. Another, I would say, mistake that I see often is artists that just play their songs at shows. They go up there, they play their song, and then they ask me to go see them do the exact same show down the street or on the other side of town. It's like, well, I just saw that show. So they're missing the point, is that it's not really just the song, because I don't really know who they are yet, right? Like that relationship takes time. I gotta be introduced to you. I got to think about it. And then I got to hear it again. And it's like, there's this process, just like when we meet people, you don't just trust somebody outright when you first meet them. I typically don't buy things from strangers either. So when an artist is just trying to convert, the moment that they meet somebody, it's actually, it does the opposite. I think it actually makes people want to go the other direction. So putting on an amazing live show, an amazing live show is stories, it's props, it's a cohesive thing. It's not just going up there and playing. And then having a way that I can, as a listener, the average listener, it works a job and they work 9 to 5, or they have some other job, I suppose, but they're working probably 30, 40 hours a week. And so when they go and see a show, they're not going to understand you as an artist. They are going because they're trying to relax. They're trying to decompress from their lives, and they don't play an instrument, or maybe they do a little bit at home, but it's not really their thing, the way that it is yours. So quite literally, they're going to be entertained, to live vicariously through you as the artist, or whatever brand you're actually prompting, or maybe they want to be you in some facet. And I think that's true on both online and live. I don't think we live in a time period where the average artist, some artists can, there's always an anomaly, can just play live shows and that be their thing. We live in a time where you have to keep in touch, and the way you keep in touch is going to be through social media, through an email list, and essentially being top of mind wherever they're hanging out. And people hang out on social media. That's why it's relevant. People hang out on Spotify. That's why it's relevant. So becoming relevant on those platforms as well as live is really going to be part of the entire marketing strategy.
Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, a couple of things that come up based on what you're saying are, I mean, one, like I've definitely seen the experience of people who short term, like they're hoping to save money by doing something themselves. And I've worked with artists who've spent tens of thousands of dollars on different types of campaigns, radio campaigns or playlist campaigns or ad campaigns that they didn't really know how it was set up. They're kind of learning. And ironically, they could have actually saved a lot of money if they had kind of started with the right foundation. They had learned properly. It reminds me of the Abraham Lincoln quote about sharpening a saw, kind of like cutting down the tree, where it can be kind of counterintuitive, where it's like, yeah, actually, if you just like if you invest a little bit of energy here, it's going to make it a lot sharper, so you can actually get a lot more leverage from it. Yeah. So with that in mind, I'm curious, what are a few of like the ways to sharpen the saw that you've seen that are working for artists right now? Like, if they were going to go in and kind of just like do this on their own, let's imagine an artist is starting from scratch. They're starting from scratch and they have a song. They feel really proud of the song. And let's imagine too, like the song is actually like really well done and they have like a cohesive brand and they have a good like identity. But now they're just looking at, how do I actually get this launched? How do I start to build my community? What are some ideas or ways that you recommend they get started with that?
Yeah. So I would say that they need to be very aware of what their budget is. That whatever amount of money that they put into creating the actual thing, if they were to bill it out in hours, is probably how much they need to spend on actually marketing. So not just putting together their social media content, but having an ad strategy. I mean, Meta is a free platform that is optimized for people that run ads. So by running ads, you're actually using the full service. That would be one example. And if you don't have an ad budget, I would recommend getting your live show. I mean, you should be doing this anyways, but getting your live show to a point to where it is spot on. So it's not just a good song, because again, we're in a saturated market where we don't need more songs. We need more reasons to listen to your song. And a live show is an example. I would really narrow down who your audience is, not so you're marketing to, a small number of people, but really just so you understand who these people are. I'll just give an example. Like I have an artist, he's from Nashville. He does music that's kind of like Black Keys meets Mumford and Sons. I do all types of genres, but this is just this particular artist.
It sounds like something I'd enjoy listening to.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's good stuff.
What's his name?
His name is James Freeborn. Very good.
Awesome.
I've known him for 8 years. Actually went to college together. But anyhow, like the audience that did best for him was not the Black Keys. It was not Mumford and Sons. It wasn't the Lumineers. It wasn't anything really to do with the music industry at all. It was people that drive Subarus, and these are called psychographics. So when doing marketing, I focus a lot more on psychographics than I do on sheer demographics or interests. And so when you think about it, the type of person on average that is going to listen to music that is somewhat introspective and probably enjoys nature, probably has a dog. I say probably on the weekend, they put their dog in the car and they drive up into the mountains to go hiking. I mean, they're probably driving an Outback Subaru. And by marketing to that, you're tapping into their lifestyle more than you are just, I mean, they already have the Black Keys. And they can go listen to the Black Keys for free on Spotify. So they don't need the B grade Black Keys. That's not your selling proposition, is that you sound like the Black Keys. Your selling proposition is that your music rocks while you're driving up into the mountains in your Subaru.
Super interesting. Yeah. So it sounds like what you're saying is that with this particular artist, when you're testing campaigns, that actually the best performing audience that you found was not even something that you normally would think of, like related to the music. It was actually it was a profile of the type of people that would listen to that kind of music, but going down a different path. It's funny. I mean, I'm just like you in terms of we run a lot of campaigns, and we're always running like split tests and things, kind of exploring with different audiences. And it's totally that we've had the same experience where it's like sometimes I don't know what it is, but like sometimes an audience that you're not expecting like will just like outperform it, and that's kind of why we have the tests. But also it does seem like the audiences that are based on like similar artists tend to do pretty well as well as like a thing to test. It sounds like you tested between it, so like in this case, the Subarus was like the winner. That's a great mindset just in general. I think for people who are listening to this, hopefully they're kind of gathering this is that like you can expand your targeting, so it doesn't just have to be like focused on the music. And probably in many ways, when you're in a different context where it's not music related, it kind of makes your music more special. Because for Subaru, like I don't know, like there's not as much competition, there's not as much saturation around like the music as it relates to Subaru, for example.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think like it also informs what kind of merch you're going to create. So instead of being, I think a lot of times artists will stop being unique when they leave the studio, and I think that the uniqueness has to carry through. Your marketing strategy has to be unique. Whatever makes you you needs to be what you put steroids on. And so if like let's say for a James, because the example right now, if a lot of your audience is driving a particular type of car, it I would say maybe like make beanies as a merch item instead of a t-shirt. Not that if t-shirts are just the right demographic, right? Like not everybody wears t-shirts that have artwork on the front of it. So making a t-shirt for an audience that doesn't really wear graphic tees, or people aren't going to buy your shirt. And then that really cuts into revenue. So it's like by understanding who your audience is, which I would say in a long way, for an artist that's about to release music, they're excited about it. It's a great track. They need to understand who they are giving the music to so that they can talk to them at their level.
Cool. So along those lines, in terms of like understanding your audience, I'm curious, what are some recommendations you have for artists who, as it relates to like understanding their fans, which obviously is like one of the most important things as it relates to building your career and targeting and building a community. What are some different strategies or ways that artists can actually build that relationship and get to know their fans on a deeper level?
They need to be genuine and they need to be consistent. It's the exact same way that you build a relationship in person is the way that you're going to build a relationship with a fan or a community of fans at scale. Is you need to be trustworthy. You need to be genuine because people can pick up nonsense. It's all really, really subtle. And you need to have, I don't think it's just having a sales proposition that makes that's really enticing. I mean, we get that from everything all the time on social media. There's all kinds of download this and get this webinar and and so really what I think works is by being genuine and offering quality and value up front. And what I mean by value, it's the song, but it's also your personality and your stories. It's going to be your stories when you're at a live show. It's going to be um, essentially that you thought it through and that it's a genuine representation of a brand that you're putting out there. So I think artists think that they need to put on a facade. And I think that there is a matter of playing a character to an extent, but at the same time, it has to be a genuine character. I don't think that just jumping over and playing a completely different character works very well because people can pick up on the subtle cue that it's not real. So being genuine, being consistent, and we just go down the list of virtues, and but by using those just because it's digital doesn't mean it's not communication. It doesn't mean that it's not people on the other end. And so you connect with people online the same way emotionally that you connect with them in real life. It's just a different tool.
Yeah, so it sounds like really it's just sort of like relationship building 101 and kind of going to what makes it possible to build a relationship with another human being offline or when it's not in the context of your music. And so that's mostly like being being a good person, having good virtues, but also finding shared interests, building a relationship, building trust over time, providing value, being authentic, being yourself. So maybe a good follow up question to that would be around providing value and ways that you've seen artists be able to kind of go above and beyond, provide value to their fans, especially in like a world where, like you mentioned, there's so much music that people could listen to, and in many cases for an artist, it feels like if you share your song with them, then it's almost like they're doing you a favor by listening to it, as opposed to like you are like doing them a favor. And so I'm curious if you've seen any like creative ways or angles or positioning around or just genuinely like, well, what are things that artists can do for their fans to actually genuinely provide value to them?
By being consistent, you become the go-to person for whatever you is. So like if I'm feeling really bummed out and I need to like listen to something very cathartic, I'm like, I need to just express this sadness. I listen to Glenn Hansard. He's my go-to guy for that expression. If I am in a like I'm feeling good, I'm walking down the street, I know I'm a boss, whatever, I'm going to probably listen to some rock music or some funk music, and I'm going to have a particular artist that I listen to in that genre. I listen to the Pastels quite a bit. I'll listen to the Ramones. If I'm feeling contemplative, I listen to Sting quite a bit. I have particular artists that make me feel a certain way, that help me express whatever I'm feeling, which is really the value of music. It's articulating and expressing it in both sound and lyric. So if you end up becoming the go-to person for that thing, for a person, they're going to become a loyal fan. And so that's why it's really important that you understand exactly what you offer as a unique person. You don't try to copy Taylor Swift. You try to become your version of yourself, and then obviously you don't have to like ignore industry trends, but the more unique you are, and not just creating avant-garde music within a pop realm is what we're talking about, that I need to know that you're the person that when I'm feeling sad, that I can go listen to your music, or that maybe you're also a poet. And like, so I know that if I'm feeling bummed, I can go to your website. So your website needs to be up always so that I can go and read poetry and feel something. It's really the consistency. You build consistency. I'm sorry, you build trust with a consistency.
That's super interesting. So it sounds like what you're saying is that one way to provide value as it specifically relates to your music is to really think through the context and the situation in which someone's going to find the most value listening to that specific song. By thinking through like, what are they feeling, or what's the intended emotion? What's the response, and what's the situation in their life where like they're really going to find that valuable, to feel that, or that's going to express the thing that they want to listen to it for. Because you could have a song that's a great sad song, but like it's not going to be valuable to someone if they're like trying to get hyped up for the big game, and then it's like you put the song in front of them, it's like that's not valuable, even though it's the exact same song. But if you find a person that's going through a situation that they need an outlet, they need to express themselves and kind of feel that, and you put it in front of them in that moment, now that exact same song is actually really valuable to them. So really just kind of thinking through your songs and the specific, the feeling that's being expressed from it, and also identifying, what are the moments or what are the situations in which someone listening to this would actually really find this valuable and express themselves, and then maybe positioning and marketing the message around how you promote it to like specifically speak to that person, and ideally put it in front of them when they're going to find it most valuable.
Even when you get away from songs, just like, so what do you do in terms of content, right? Because essentially artists have to adopt the fact that they are content creators in 2024, 2025 in this new modern industry. So then how do you actually deliver that? And I would say, like, if you're funny, be funny on social media. If you are dramatic and you make sad music, like, you should still be funny a little bit, because funny works for everybody. It breaks the ice, but be vulnerable. Vulnerability works for an honest that is expressing vulnerability in their music. Just pick a lane and just deliver that thing consistently. And as an artist, you can you have the skill of being creative. So you can see how, oh, well, like this connects with my music because I'm kind of a funny guy, but I'm also like maybe it's a deflection. So then, I mean, I think that I can't remember his name. He had the whole comedy thing during the pandemic, and he nailed it. I can't remember his name. I'll think about it. Um, Anyhow, he put together did this whole thing where he did music videos in his bedroom essentially during the pandemic, and he turned it into a show. And I think it was on Netflix. It was very, very good. Many of your artists probably know exactly who am I talking about. I just can't remember his name. But yeah. So like by making a cohesive connection with your brand, with your music and your content and your communication style and how consistent you are, we're starting to get in the realm of building a marketing strategy. Whereas promo is, oh, like I'm just trying to go viral with this video because I saw that someone else went viral with this video. And I think artists, our job is we're explorers of the abstract and the esoteric. That's what an artist, that's what we do. And we take those things and then we express those things in our way. And so it's our job to go out there and put together and articulate things that are going to resonate with people that are following us, that aren't necessarily thinking about things in that way, but maybe we unlocked something for them emotionally.
Good stuff. Yeah, really well articulated. So, Jesse, man, it's been really great to connect and go through some of the foundations of building a real marketing strategy and kind of thinking wider than just the short-term promo, but actually thinking through what does it take to actually set the foundation up correctly to build a long-term successful career. So I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today to share just a little bit about your experience, some of the ideas and things that you see that are really working right now. And for anyone who's listening to this or watching this right now, who is interested in diving deeper and connecting with you and seeing what you're doing, what's the best place for them to go to dive deeper?
So on thesavvy.com, SAVVY, two V's, is where you can see everything that I offer as a service, and I also have a blog that I've been adding to. Then I'm also an artist, so if you want to listen to my stuff, that's springowls.com. One season, multiple owls. But those are the two main spots. You can connect with me on Instagram if you like. Just send me a DM or through the website.
All right. Awesome. Well, like always, we'll put all the links to the show notes for easy access. And Jesse, thank you again for being on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Michael.